Hello everyone and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Siân Dalgleish, who is the new PhD student for Sunderland University, who is going to be studying the effects of social isolation on the veteran community in Sunderland. Hi Siân, you alright?
Hi, yeah, how are you?
Good, thanks. Thank you for coming on. I know that you're in the middle of moving and lots of things happening, so I really understand that you're so busy, so I do appreciate you taking the time out.
No, thanks for having me.
No, it's no problem. So, what we normally do is just have a bit of a chat about things. What I'm really interested in is sort of your past, how you wanted to research veterans, and more or less what you'll be doing. You know, I mean, I know what you'd be doing because I'll be working with you, but it's nice for other people to understand.
Yeah, so I guess my whole interest in veterans and the armed forces community came from the fact both my parents served in the army.
Oh, right.
So my dad did 22 years and my mum did 9. So that kind of has always influenced my kind of decision making, in that for me, so I'm a registered nurse. I graduated from nursing in 2016, but for me, nursing always came with wanting to do something to help the armed forces community. So I've done nursing, and then I went into my master's, which was in clinical research. But again, throughout both of those programs, I always wanted to help the armed forces. So you have to do a dissertation that looks at doing a research proposal, and I always propose research in kind of reintegration challenges and kind of coping mechanisms. And then I went into nursing clinically, kind of different areas, but my most recent post was in the emergency department. And I even there saw, veterans coming in and there not being the resources to properly help them. And so I always wanted to do more. And then, this opportunity with the Helen McArdle Institute came up, and I had this opportunity and I grabbed it with both hands.
Well, it's great to have you on board. I mean, what was your parents in? What were they in the army?
So, mum was a dental nurse, and my dad, if you can't tell by the colour of my room, which was not intentional, was a para for 22 years.
All right. Well, it's funny because when we first met, and your name's Dalgleish, I expected you to sound and look like Kenny Dalglish, the footballer from the 70s.
Well, so that was his nickname in the army, because obviously it's an easy one to go to. But yeah, definitely not. I'm more of a rugby girl than a football girl.
And you don't look like Kenny Dalglish. Luckily for everyone.
Thanks.
So your dad been in the paras? Where did your dad serve, or did you get we would call a pads kid? So an army kid who get sort of live all over the world. Did you do that?
That's quite a nice way of putting it, because I've definitely been called military brat more than a pad kid. But I think so. We started in Aldershot, then moved to Senalaga for a couple of years, back to Aldershot, and then my mum and I moved to Cheshire, which is where her family's from, and my dad just kind of sort of commuted when he could back to Cheshire. Just they wanted to try and keep a stable education for me. So I didn't have the full-on life.
Did you have the private education, boarding school?
Definitely not.
No. It's just not. We've had veterans' wives, and we've had veterans on that have put their kids through the private education, because it's a real sort of perk of being in the military, that you get it really cheap. And I didn't realize how cheap it was until we had the guests on.
Yeah, I didn't realise that either, because I saw that was a perk of joining the military. But no, I think because my mum had left the army just after I was born, they just thought kind of if they move closer to her family, then they can keep my education stable just in a normal school, and then dad can just come and go.
And then that worked for you all, okay?
Yeah, it did actually. Obviously he was away quite a lot, but when he was back, it was quality time. So,
without getting into any kind of personal details, did your dad suffer any sort of mental health or any problems transitioning back into civilian life?
No, so my parents were both quite lucky in that they transitioned well, But I remember when, probably in undergrad, I went to my granddad's house and there was a photo of his battalion, and I asked Dad, you know, like where all the people were now and what they were doing. And, you know, he talked about the challenges that some of his mates had faced, and the fact that, you know, some people had gone on to complete suicide. And I think that was another massive driver for me to be like, that's not right. Like, there needs to be more in place to help these people. So, yeah.
So I'm assuming your mum just being a dental nurse, not just being a dental nurse, but I'm assuming that our patients have had more nightmares than she has.
I don't know. I think she's had some nightmares about the people's teeth that she's looked at.
Oh, I couldn't think of a worse job, to be honest.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, no, neither. Well, I mean, well, when I was in the army, you dreaded going to see the dental nurse, like the thing. It wasn't too bad when I left it. I think in Berlin, in the hospital in Berlin, they were there. They were quite good, but you in Ireland, you would just think, nah, I'd rather fell out. I'd rather they were knocked out, to be honest.
Well, my mum was based in Ireland for a bit as well,
Was
so
she?
it was probably my mum.
Oh, yeah. If you were when I was there, I'm sorry if you watch this. So you went to just normal school in Cheshire, and then what made you want to be a nurse? Because of your mum's influence?
No, so not at all. So I'm not someone that like always wanted to be a nurse. Like, I went from wanting to be a lawyer to wanting to do kind of forensic stuff, and it was usually based on what I watched on the telly at the time. But then I just kind of thought about how can I make all my interests fit, so like science and caring, but also like, again, this desire to help the armed forces, and nursing just seemed to fit. So, you know, I like went to some open days and got offered a place at the University of Edinburgh, which I never thought was going to happen, and just took it and loved it.
Why did you think you would never get into the University of Edinburgh?
So at the time it was ranked first in the country for nursing.
Oh, right.
And well, again, like I've done here, like I'd never been to Edinburgh. The first day I went to Edinburgh was for my interview, and for here it was when I moved down here was the first time I've been to the Northeast, so I have a running theme. But so I just never thought I'd get into kind of like a top university for nursing, because I'm not from a family that's gone to university and done that stuff. I was the first one, so it was quite a jump.
I mean, it's paid off though, isn't it? So you did your 3 years at Edinburgh, and then did you do your masters in Edinburgh?
Yeah, so it's a 4-year degree in Edinburgh, because it's the Scottish system, so their degree programs are longer. And then I did my masters straight out of undergrad at the same uni. Yeah.
Is it also free in Scotland, or is it only free for people who are from Scotland?
So nursing's, well, it was free in that you got like the NHS funded and you got a bursary and things, but for normal degrees, kind of in every other subject, then they are funded for Scottish students.
Just Scottish students?
Yeah.
We'll not get on to that. We'll not get on to
that.
No. So then you decided, did you just think, right, I'm in the kind of zone now for learning, so I'm just going to go straight for my masters, or did you have time out and watch Countdown?
No. So I went straight for the masters, which I think in hindsight, I don't know if it was the best idea, because it was like my 5th year of education, so it's quite intense. But at the same time, I am glad, because I was in the headset of it. But it was good to kind of get into clinical nursing after that, just for a few years to actually put what I've learned into practice.
Yeah, it can work both ways. It's good because you're in the zone for learning, but also what I always thought was every time I finished a course, I'd start another one straight away, because I didn't want to have a week off and then think, I don't want to do that, you know. And yeah, because I was enjoying it, and I think if you enjoy when you're learning stuff, that's half the battle, isn't it? You know, it wasn't a chore or anything. But then when I started Vix and I had a job as well, I haven't had time to do any more learning, which it's good. It's a good thing, but I think everyone should continue learning all the time. I mean, I learn business stuff and things off me peers that I have around us, but as in like academic stuff, I haven't been able to do anything for 2 years now.
Yeah, I think like so I loved my undergrad program, but for the dissertation you write like 10,000 words, and then that's in your final year, and then for the masters it's only a 1 year course, so then you do your dissertation, which is 15,000 words, like just 1 year later, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
How do you go about doing that? I mean, like, just getting it into that many words?
Do you know, like at the end, it's actually you end up having to cut things out because so the format of it is that you do like a literature search, which is the stage I'm at now with the PhD, is that I'm essentially searching all the literature there is on, you know, social isolation and veterans and the armed forces, which is actually quite a lot. And then you put all that together and analyze it, and then you propose the research. Obviously, this PhD is going to go on to do more than that, because in undergrad and postgraduate, you just have to propose the research, but you don't actually get to do it. Whereas this, I'll actually get to do the research.
Which is it's a massive thing, isn't it? That you undertaking. It's 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
3 years, and I mean, unfortunately, you've moved to Gateshead, so I don't know if you last 3 years living there. To be honest,
Honestly,
I think you need to move to Sunderland, like.
I mean, it's all right because like I barely left the flat, so you know I could be living anywhere right now.
Yeah, I think that's if you live in Gateshead, I think barely leaving the flat's the right option, to be honest.
Who knows?
Well, hopefully you'll find it easier or find somewhere nice in Sunderland, and I mean just for travelling and things, you know. Hopefully we'll see more of you. So if we go to you, I don't know, would you say winning the post or being awarded?
Feels like
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
being awarded. I know that there was several really high profile candidates that got interviewed, and you came out above them head and shoulders from what I've heard. So you better be good.
I hope so.
And I think as well, I think things were taken into consideration of how you mix with people, and obviously you being from the Pads family. So that all came in as well. And I mean, you came and had a look around the other day, and what was your first impressions?
Oh, it was just great. It was so welcoming from like the moment you walked in, and that just like it just goes to show like how important that is. And I just think that with it being such a welcoming environment, like you can just tell how useful and supportive that's going to be for other people and the veterans that need help. So like I can't wait to spend more time there.
Well, I mean, you're here for a couple of hours, and basically you'll be spending days and days a week here. Well, hopefully you will, because we need someone to make the tea.
Definitely.
No, you come with us walking on Thursday. Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Watching this. You come and walking with us, aren't you?
Yeah. What is it? Dog walk or just a normal
Yeah,
walk?
well, we'll take dogs with us as well. Like, but I mean, it's just something we've always done, but with COVID, it's been a bit more difficult. But people sort of separate in different groups, and it's okay. So, do you want to explain what a PhD sort of involves? If you know, I mean, I know it's a lot of studying.
So essentially it's about creating a piece of like original work. So with what I'm looking at, so social isolation in the veteran community in Sunderland, the plan will be to essentially investigate that further, because we know it's an issue. Like, you know that social isolation is an issue in the veteran community because of research that's been done in the past. But what I want to know is why, because so you call it quantitative research, which gives you the numbers, so we can see that it's an issue. But qualitative research, which is what this project is, wants to get into kind of why people feel that, how it got to that stage, just to get to know kind of the individual's experience of social isolation. And that way you can put that together with the kind of the numbers and really try and improve the lives for these people.
Well, I mean, we're lucky in Sunderland having that institute, and you're the first PhD student that's won funding, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna be the best, aren't you? You're gonna be the best. No, you'll be the benchmark for everyone who comes after you now.
Yeah. God.
Don't worry about it, man. I'm sure you'll be fine, man. You'll be fine. So
yeah,
we've I mean, we'll see how this goes, see if you like it enough. But what we thought would be like, maybe we do one of these every 6 months, and you could sort of put some findings over and explain to people where you are. I mean, I don't know if you're not allowed to give all the sort of stuff that you've done away, but if you could just explain to people where things have got to.
Yeah, definitely. It'll probably take me 6 months to like mentally prepare for this again, but yeah, sounds like a good plan.
No, man, you're doing well. You're doing well. So in the future, and I don't want you to think too far in your future, but what would happen? The PhD goes brilliant. It gets published. You've changed the world. What do you think your plans would be for the future?
My like complete goal would be to kind of split my time clinically and in research. So I love working in the emergency department. Like I absolutely adored that job. But also my overall passion, and it always has been, is to help the armed forces community. So to be able to continue doing research to help that community would just be absolutely like ideal.
Well, I mean, the research institute in Sunderland, it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get a bit bigger, so make sure you make some good connections there.
I've got Yitka.
There you can, I know. Exactly. Yitka's been a massive driving force in helping Vix with the research and stuff. So I worked at Northumbria University before as a research assistant, and I did a study on peer research, and we used sort of Vix model, and the findings of that have been held back by COVID. So that's just getting wrote up now. Then we'll be having sort of like I don't know, releasing it to the press and to stuff, and how, I'm not going to say how great, well, in fact, how great Vix is, and how great the model that we've produced, which is down to the staff that we have, the people behind the scenes, and primarily the people who support us from Sunderland. So if it wasn't for the people of Sunderland and the wider community helping us, it wouldn't be anything. It would just be another community interest company that doesn't do much, but it's managed to grow and grow and grow, which is, it's great for everyone. It's great for the city.
I think that's what was so nice when I came down, was that you could see that straight off the bat. Like you could see what community it was, and that's just so rare.
Well, I mean, I other than being in the forces, I've never lived in another city, but I would be surprised if the community spirit was as strong as it is in Sunderland. For veterans, anyway. I mean, if I had one goal, it would be for the model that we've created to be rolled out around the country. Not that we gain anything from it, but I would like people to think that it started in Sunderland, the best practice started in Sunderland for how to treat veterans. Because around the world, veterans are treated much better. And veterans are not treated badly in England or in the UK, but see, in America, they get discount everywhere they go. People thank them for the service. And little things like that, I mean, that would be brilliant if we could do stuff like that. No, I don't want many comparisons with America, to be honest, but things like that I would.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing. And there's just kind of a mismatch of services, and things aren't linked up at the moment. So being able to do that and with a community focus, I think, is really important.
And there's sort in Sunderland we use a city-wide approach, so every service gets involved. I worked for a homeless charity before, and what I learned there is they were very precious of keeping clients for themselves because of funding. Don't get that other people involved because they might get the funding instead of us, and that wasn't something that I wanted. What I wanted was be for the client. It doesn't really matter, because when I started this, I wasn't getting funding. I'm lucky enough to get it now, but we weren't at the beginning, so money wasn't a thing. If you put the client at the center of it, that's what you want. Whatever's best for them, not like you're going to get less funding because of it. Because if you're good at your job, or you're a good service, money will come anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And it should always be about the client. They should always be center of what you're doing.
That's what we like to do whenever we set anything up. Like, for instance, we're going to start a fishing club. So we had like a little focus group of what people wanted to do. We were lucky enough for some guy, I won't mention his name, but he he sued someone, and he got money for that. He didn't want the money off them, so he gave it to us. He gave it to us and another
Wow.
charity. So he just phoned up out of the blue. I've won £20,000. I don't want the money. Do you want £10,000? But I want it to be spent on stuff that veterans want to do. So we just ask, and they came up. They fancied a fishing club. So we're going to go out and buy lots of fishing gear, and then they're going to start a fishing club. And it's just like any other stuff that we do. We have focus groups, and because we spoke about this today, because we're starting another thing for employment, with a firm called NG, Gen 2 and Springboard, where we would help veterans do a 6 to 8 week course, and then they would do some work experience and then hopefully get a full-time job out of it. But there's no point in us doing that if veterans don't want to do that. So everything we do, we ask first. There's people who want to have jobs, people especially want to work in construction. There's a lot of building work going on in Sunderland in the next few years. So them are the type of jobs where maybe they get a start, and that's great for them.
Yeah, definitely.
You can change people's lives by just letting them do a 6 week course, and that gets them on the step of the ladder, and that's great.
Exactly. It's honestly so good.
Is there anything you want to get across or say before we wrap it up?
Just thank you for having me. Do you know, like, this has been something I've been working towards for kind of as long as I can remember. So to be involved with such a great charity and to be soon meeting kind of all the veterans that are using your service, like, I just really appreciate all of your time.
Oh, we're really happy to have you on board, and we look forward to the next 3 years. I mean, I don't know if you look forward to the next podcast, but I'm sure by 6 months you'll have come out of your shell, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you've got to think, hopefully the world will be different. There'll be no COVID, so we can be actually in the studio upstairs. We'll get Yitka on with you as well. And then we're going to have a drink while we're doing it. And we're hoping to have it live as well, so people can phone in, so they might have questions for you and then put you right on the spot. So we'll see how that goes. Right, I want to thank you very much for coming on, and I will see you at the walk.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, cheers.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Bye.